Hi everyone, here's a quick video on how to adjust the Google Meet settings that you might want to change to make virtual learning more effective for yourself and for your students. So here I am in my Google Classroom, and I already set up Google Meet for my students. And if you haven't done that, there's a video that I created that shows how to set up Google Meet for virtual learning. So to join Google Meet, my students and I would just have to click this big blue join button. And just because I'm doing Screencast here, I'm going to turn off my microphone and camera for the Google Meet. And I click Join Now. And you know that as students join, they'll show up here in the grid. And as your co-teachers join as well. There are a couple things I wanted to point out to you. If you haven't used Google Meet in a long time, particularly with students, you might not have noticed these emojis here on the bottom. So by default, any person in a Google Meet can click on these emojis and you'll see them sort of scroll across the video, and everyone else can see them as they scroll. Now, it's a lot of fun and it's a great way to sort of gauge reactions from people during a meeting, but you can see it could also be very distracting, particularly for kids if they're constantly doing it when you're trying to teach them something in virtual learning. So there's some ways to make some adjustments. The other thing that you may or may not be aware of is chat, and usually by default it's set to let everyone send messages. You may or may not want students to be able to send chat messages during your Google Meet. So I'm going to show you one place to make all of these adjustments just to make your life a lot easier. So because I am the one who started the Google Meet, I'm the host. Down here at the bottom, you'll see that I have a padlock called Host Controls. The teacher that started the Meet is the only person that has this button. So if you don't see this button, you may be a co-teacher and the other teacher in the Google Classroom may have started the Meet. But if you're the teacher that started the Meet, then you'll see this because you're the host. So I'm going to click on this, and you'll see I get a little panel with a bunch of controls. All right. So by default, this is on, which lets me as one of the meeting hosts be able to adjust what the participants are able to do. So let's scroll down and take a look at some of these. So right now, everyone can share their screen with everybody who's in the Google Meet. You probably don't want to leave this on and allow students to just be randomly sharing their screens with everybody who's in the Google Meet. So I'm going to turn this off. You'll see there's a choice here to let everybody send chat messages. And again, you may want to allow this at certain points in certain activities. You may not want to allow it all the time. So I can turn that off really easily, again, from this one place. Those emoji reactions, if I really don't want people to be doing that all the time, I can turn that off. Turning on their microphone, we want to leave this on. You'll see there's a little sort of summary about what this does. It's really for people who have old versions of the app, so we're just going to leave that on. Same thing with turning on their video. Okay. When host management was on, so that was this setting right at the top that was on by default, and you really want to leave this on for the Meet because you want to be able to adjust these things as you go. But when host management was on, anybody who, there's a little box here, anybody who is a meeting host, they can create breakout rooms. So for example, if you want to create a breakout room for a special educator, a clinician, a paraprofessional to work with a couple students during virtual learning outside of the main Meet, you could do that. You could also take small groups of students. So you want to have those at the top here, those host management controls on to be able to do that. And then down here, host must join before anyone else. This is a really good setting to have on because this means that none of the students can join the Google Meet if you as the meeting host, the teacher, if you're not in there first. So if kids try and join this before you're in the Google Meet, they'll just get a little box saying waiting for host to join. And that's probably what you want because while if kids are in the Meet when you're not there, they're not being supervised. And so they could be doing and saying things that you wouldn't necessarily want them to do or wouldn't be appropriate. All of the kids in your Google Classroom are invited. So leaving this restricted on is fine for virtual learning for Google Classroom because all the kids are already explicitly invited because they're in your Google Classroom. If you ever wanted to make Google Meets really open for anybody, let's say you were doing something and you wanted to, allow parents, grandparents in, and you weren't worried about anyone, necessarily having to check to see who they are, you can make it completely open. I wouldn't recommend that for virtual learning. You can also make it trusted, and this means that anybody in the Smithfield Public Schools, so any student with a Smithfield Public Schools account or any staff member with a Smithfield Public Schools account can join the Meet. I think leaving it as restricted is probably the best for virtual learning. And then all the way down here, you can do questions in Q&A, and it's off by default, but you're welcome to play with this, and you can turn it on and off as you want. So what I've done is I've turned off the share their screen, I've turned off the chat messages, and I've turned off the send reactions. And then I close this. And now any students who come in, you'll notice all the little emojis are gone. And when I try and click that, I can't access them at all. So the students can't even get in there. I'm the Google Meet host, so I can share my screen, but the students would not have this option. And if I go into chat, you'll see that it automatically turned off, let everyone send messages. So no one can send messages unless I go back into the chat and turn this on, or if I go back in the host controls and turn this on. You can do it in either place. The nice thing about having everything in one place under the host controls in this padlock is you can turn these on and off as needed. So if there's a point in your lesson where you want kids to be able to play a little bit and experiment and play with the reactions, I can go in here. I can quickly turn that back on and close it. Okay. And so then kids can play around with that emoji send reactions. If I actually clicked on the wrong one. There we go. And you'll see now the emojis are back, and you can let kids play a little bit if you wanted to. Okay. And then I could always go turn it off when they've had enough. I could also do the same thing for chat. So I can turn chat on temporarily, and then kids could go in and they can send chat messages back and forth. And then I can turn it off, and I can also go back in the host controls and turn it on and off there. So I hope that helps. Essentially, all of the settings that you need, if you're a Google Meet host, are down here at the bottom in the padlock. You just click to open it up, and you can adjust any of these things at any time, and you can turn them on and off at any time. I hope this helps.